Hey there, everybody, and welcome to another episode review of the Santa Clauses. I know. I'm watching it so you don't have to. Let's just be honest where we're at right now because we are having a Kumar Christmas because, yeah, Scott Calvin is out. It's official. The last episode, he is done. And this is where we make our halfway point. We're going to go the rest of the way. There's only 6 episodes in this season. So the first 3 got rid of him. And here we are, our first dose of what the show will be about without Scott as Santa. And yeah, it lives up to all of your expectations. It is exactly what you think. It is terrible. It is unbearable. It starts because they wake up and it's Grace and Simon. This is the guy's name. Cal Penn plays Simon. He's basically this failed entrepreneur delivery service guy and his daughter Grace. They wake up and the first shenanigans are that the coat is missing. That's right, the Santa's coat is missing. And they literally make a joke that they will ransack the place to make it look like a robbery. And you're like, what are you talking about? Meanwhile, Scott and Carol and the kids wake up in Chicago in the last episode, and now they've been thrust into the real world. They have to do so. Scott is at first, it's like a lot of this is at his expense, right? Because he doesn't know how to order coffee right. He gets creepy next to some little kid about knowing their name and whatever, and then they're trying to play a board game, right? And then whenever Carol goes to a school because she's going to try to be a principal again, right? They fake this backstory because Carol, quote, didn't want to seem like she gave up her successful career to be behind a man. And you're like, no. What are we doing? Like, they haven't ever had any of these type of elements really in the show. And it doesn't derail the show. There's enough of other stuff that's bad that makes it terrible. It's just like another thing to make it unbearably bad. And Carol really isn't like cringy or bad. It's just the nature of the entire premise is bad. That they treat Scott, they ostracize Tim Allen's character because the son kind of bumps into a girl, has a girl, Sandra, the daughter, which of course can speak to animals, which we've yet to explain. Jumps on this horse, is running around, and so everyone is moving and adapting into the real world except for Scott. He can't find his way. Meanwhile, Simon, he insults the elves with like calling them little and corporate messaging. Then there's jokes about. Oh, the only line that was good, by the way, because I don't like the elves in this show, but Betty, the head elf, makes a comment about replacing the coat and how it's made from the robe of St. Nicholas. I'm like, oh, wait, there's mythology there. That would be interesting. But we're not going to have any of that. They're not going to spend any time with that because they're too busy trying to make Simon this unbearably bad corporate guy that sees a way to exploit the North Pole, the elf labor, to basically turn Christmas into an everyday thing. Everyday Christmas every day. CED. It's just, I don't know if they thought this would be funny or if this is supposed to be part of the story, but it's dragging on too long because we don't really know why he's doing it. He doesn't even have sort of like a greed monologue or anything behind the scenes. He's just gonna like fire Betty and move on. He's just rude and douchey, way worse than he was before. Like, so it's just, partly it kind of, I think they were trying to go with like money, but it never really gets there. Anyway, everything is like fish out of water type jokes. Very little is remotely decent. I don't quite understand this twist on the dark blob that's growing in the snow globe that Betty finds and tries to talk to Simon about. And of course, you have elves that are basically just disappearing. So this is a new thing. So if you have Simon Santa, Kumar Santa, and the elf says, no, you're messed up, you're doing it badly, whatever, the elf just disintegrates and disappears. So they have this backstory. The elves are just vanishing, and we actually watch the elf vanish. And it's all just taking way too long. There's nothing remotely interesting or really funny. There's goofy lines, goofy gags. Noelle, the little black elf that loves Scott, runs away from home. Basically, he has a good line about "you lie like a gnome," because I don't like gnomes. Goes into the real world to find Scott. I don't care. Like the comment about like, the reindeer won't fly. It's the worst Christmas, whatever. And it's just like, it's just all of it is just a big jumbled mess in this episode. Like nothing works right. There's like snowball fights that go badly. When Noelle makes it to town, you have another elf that vanishes, and it ends with Betty leaving and going to see La Befana, who came up in a previous episode, who is basically like the Italian Santa, right? And that quote, the coat came there on its own. She has Santa's coat, and I guess the coat can just leave on its own now. I don't know, right? Well, Betty says, no, we have to find him. We have to find him. Who could him be? Well, we hope him is Bernard, because Bernard would be the only thing that could bring this show back into the original trilogy to have some semblance of things that we like. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off. They have this like quick little shot where Scott's like, well, I'll be the Santa to my family. I'll be home for my family or whatever. And then he turns around and the family's frozen. You have this hand on the shoulder. And that's how it ends. I'm watching it so you don't have to. That's all I'm going to say, folks. I like the first one. I found it endearing and sweet. I like the romantic elements of the second one. The third one is really hard to get through. The Martin Short stuff is just really rough, hardly bad to get through. And this show has never hit a beat consistently that remotely is worth watching. It's just bad content. It's just bad. And as like we have done with other bad content, we're just going to leave you on a high note. Feel sorry for Pops because there's another episode coming. 2 more. Oh no.
Ross. Yep. All I do is chill. My life is a thrill for real, Bob Ross. I be too calm for the drama.